Our next presenter will be Michael Jardine from Ironbark Zinc Ltd. Michael has a background in corporate and project finance, strategy development, and minerals marketing. And his previous experience includes board and executive roles at a number of junior ASX-listed resource companies. Mr. Jardine has previously served as a director of Atrium Coal Limited and Pegasus Metals, which is now known as Scorpion Metals. He also served as the General Manager Corporate Development for formerly listed General Mining Corporation between 2013 and 16, and Eastern Goldfields, which is now known as Ora Banda Mining, during the same period. So, Michael, welcome to the stage.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming along today. First of all, it's my first time to PDAC, therefore first day here at Greenland Day, so very pleased to be here. I'm happy to sort of talk to what we're doing in country, given the speed dating format. Ironbark's been in Greenland for 12 years now. It's a project, and I've been with the company for 3 or 4 months, so it's a project that many here in the room will know better than me in some instances. It's, in some respects, sort of different to the anorthosite project. What Ironbark is sitting on at Citronen, so we're at the very far north of Greenland, 83 degrees north to be precise. We're trying to put together it's the furthest north piece of fixed infrastructure in the world, but it's a globally significant zinc-lead deposit. So base metals, if we can get the mine up and going as we are intending on doing, we're a top 10 zinc mine in the world. We are logistically challenged given the latitude, and it's what presents sort of the number one difficulty for Ironbark over its long journey, but that probably sells the asset a little bit short. We have a very large resource, grading sort of 4 to 5%. Oh, here we go. I think we're on. Here we go. So yeah, we classify ourselves as a top 10 undeveloped zinc mine in the world. It would be the largest zinc mine anywhere in the European Union jurisdiction, for example, by the time it's up and producing. Inside of that, we've got a particularly a very good high-grade deposit, which, as Jim mentioned, grade is king in this game, and that's something that the business is focusing on currently. We have our exploitation licence. That was granted 2016, and that's given us a 30-year window to get this project up and going and mining. I think the second point is one that's, again, well made by the previous speaker, and one that I'm sort of coming to enjoy. You know, mining is a global game, and capital and people go all over the world. I think, you know, Greenland is very much underappreciated as a jurisdiction. Now, I live in Perth, Western Australia. I can assure you 83 degrees north is a long way from home. So it's not as risky as it sounds, I think, is probably the key message, and that's both in terms of jurisdiction risk. There are far riskier places and far less transparent places to work in the world, and mining's pretty good at finding those locations. But there's a really strong track record for zinc-lead mines in these types of environments operating successfully. So we had, you know, Polaris and Nanoscivic were zinc-lead mines that operated in Canada under very similar conditions, very successfully. And Red Dog is Teck's largest zinc mine in the world, and that's at not quite as far north as Citronen, but it is an Arctic mine. We've got two partners, the Glencore and Nearstar, so now sort of owned and controlled by Trafigura. So they're really big wins for Ironbark. So they're the two largest metal trading groups in the world, and they have each secured the right to buy 35% of our production. So despite the fact that we're not actually mining yet, our product is sold for, in some instances, life of mine, and they're also shareholders of ours. So it's a rare combination for a company of our size. This is largely just a quick corporate overview. I think the only point I want to reinforce here is we brought on a new chairman late last year as well, a gentleman named Dr. Fred Hess. He's got a really strong track record in building and operating difficult mines. He's certainly a gentleman of capability that Ironbark probably hasn't enjoyed on its board before. He's someone that's going to add significant expertise and capability to this company as we try and build this project out. everyone's probably reasonably familiar with here. I think I've spoken to some of these points already. I think the number one advantage of Greenland is that it is a highly stable jurisdiction, which does count for a lot. And there is a number of historic zinc lead mines in the country as well. So we're not the first, but we'll be the biggest by the time we get up and going. Just to give everyone an idea of exactly where we are. So we are just off of the Citronen Fjord, so we're inside the national park in Greenland, so it was a real win for the company to have its exploitation licence granted in 2016, and we're working closely with the relevant departments in Greenland now to move on to the next stage of permitting. Sea access is sort of the number one challenge, and the complete, sort of right now there is no infrastructure in this location whatsoever. We certainly can't high beam the internet, I'm afraid, Jim, from Nook up here. We have an intention to build a very large piece of fixed infrastructure here. We'll have a port, obviously, a power station, year-round runway access, and all the accompanying infrastructure that goes with a large mine site. That's a plan view, an aerial shot of the ore body. So like I think most things in Greenland, it's very large. So you may not be able to see, but from the top left corner to the bottom right, that's 11 kilometres. The ore body as it's defined today covers 5 or 6 kilometres, starts particularly shallow by our standards, sort of 50 metres down, and the high grade part of that sort of tops out at about 150 metres down. So this is an eminently mineable deposit. If this same ore body, in terms of geometry, location, grade, was in Australia or here in Canada or in many other places around the world, it would have been gone a long time ago. So it is a serious opportunity. We will be a material supplier into world markets once this operation is up and going. This slide's probably less relevant to everybody here, but it's actually stepping through where does the next large zinc mine come from. I think there's really only one message. I would argue that we have an Australian listed company, so a very safe investment jurisdiction with a project in Greenland, a very safe jurisdiction for the actual deposit to be in. Now that's probably not the case for a lot of the next largest zinc mines in the world. There'll be, from a capital markets perspective, which is my background, there's difficulties with selling either the owner of the project or the location of the project. So this is the scale, grade and location is a really key combination. I'm going to skip over that one because it sort of talks to the zinc market rather than Greenland. And in terms of what we're doing this year, we've come in, myself and the new chairman last year, everything we've done today has confirmed that the good work that Ironbark undertook historically looks very sound. We actually had a feasibility study first done for this in 2011, so what we're doing now is updating the mine plan. Capital markets move pretty quickly, zinc prices change, mining methods, techniques, all those things have evolved. So we're busy sort of reframing the mine plan for Citronen, make sure it's relevant for today's market. I think by the middle of this year, we're aiming to have our Section 1943 permit over the line, and that's the licence that comes after your exploitation licence for everyone's benefit and wraps together the mine plan and the closure plan, and that's consuming lots of my time at the moment, but the goal is to have that in place by the middle of the year, a refreshed business plan in terms of what we want to bring to market, and then we'll most likely be sort of following a similar path in trying to find a development partner. This asset is a significant one to develop in terms of cost, location. We may end up with partners on something of this size. We may end up with a partner on the infrastructure side and potentially a different partner on the mining side. It's big enough to probably find any number of groups we think that will want to invest alongside. Quick one to finish on, ESG, in terms of environmental, social governance issues, it's a really hot topic for mining. Now, I think it's probably rare that you get a slide like this from a junior, but it is something that we're focused on as a board, and I think certainly all of the large miners are very much focused on this now. So we've got an exploration camp that's been there at Citronen for 10 or 12 years now. We've got cash on deposit in the country in Greenland to make sure that's fully rehabilitated. We are looking at putting the tails. So the tails is the waste rock effectively that comes out the end of a processing plant with all the metal that's been removed. It needs to go back somewhere. Typically that'll be stored on surface. Our plan is to put all of that back underground where it came from in the first place, and it's going to be locked away then forever. We're looking at alternative power solutions. You know, as I mentioned, we have to put a 25 megawatt power station into this location. We're looking at whether or not that's, you know, currently it is a 10-year-old plan. That was a diesel-fired power station initially. We're working with a couple of very major wind groups to can we find an alternative solution there. The HFO, heavy fuel oils issues, is a big one in the Arctic. It's one that's well and truly above my pay grade, but it's likewise something we're working through the government with. We've got in-country employment targets as part of our exploitation licence. And the last one is just a quick point on EU standards. I know Greenland's not technically part of the EU, but given it's inside the Kingdom of Denmark, it is a relevant point to make in terms of employment law, environmental law, in terms of where the emissions go. The zinc's only going from, you know, Greenland likely to a European-based smelter. So we think that's a pretty strong suite of credentials given where we're at. Thank you for your time. I'm around this afternoon and at the function later, so happy to take any questions from anyone if you have any. Thank you.